Stories are trying to have your cake and eat it regardless. My name is Osadumebi, and every week I will tell you a short story written by a Nigerian writer or author. That's the long and short of it. So without much ado, this week's story is by Charles Igwe, and it's titled, In the Name of the Father. It was one of those days when it seemed everything would go wrong. Reverend Anthony sucked his teeth in frustration. It was obvious his much heralded and anticipated priestly ordination day was falling to pieces. Like most ill events that threatened to blow out of control, it had started with the little things. He had woken up that morning with a fever, and it was only the swift intervention of the vocations director who had rushed to the pharmacy and gotten him some drugs that ensured he was now standing at the sacristy feeling a bit more like himself. As if his chi had not finished with him, that same morning, he received a call from his inconsolable mother, who informed him that the driver who had been hired to transport his townsmen from the village to the cathedral for the ordination mass had vanished into thin air. Now, his people were making frantic efforts to ensure they met up with their son's ordination. Chukubiko, Lord, have mercy. Yet, what fueled Anthony's rising frustration even more was the fact that his bosom friend, Reverend Chinua, was still nowhere to be found. Every attempt to reach him proved abortive as the receiver end trailed to the same automated, switched-off message. Come on, Chinua, where are you? Anthony glanced at his wristwatch again for the 1000th time. 9:33 a.m. The ordination mass would begin in barely 27 minutes, and judging by their bishop's repute for punctuality to events, the procession was certain to begin earlier. Anthony's face sagged with worry. All through his years of friendship with Chinua in the seminary, he had known him to be intelligent. He was clearly the bishop's favorite. A month ago, it was already being discreetly suggested that his appointment as the secretary to the bishop was going to be mere formality after the ordination. Anthony knew Chinua to be calculative and daring, but he had never imagined that even Chinua could risk so much. When Chinua informed him of his plans to sneak out of the bishop's pastoral center, where the soon-to-be ordained were hosted on the eve of the ordination day the previous night, Anthony had been alarmed. Chinua, this is plain madness. He had desperately tried to talk some sense into his unyielding friend. Hey, Chinua, it is not worth it. Chinua had been confident nothing could go wrong. The plan was simple and foolproof. He would spend the night with Ijeoma, his lover, and then sneak back inside in the early hours of the morning before anybody discovered he had been away. Anthony reluctantly gave in. Now, Chinua was nowhere to be found. The frantic excitement and rush by the laity made Anthony realize that the bishop had arrived. He was almost panicking now, and from the expressions on the faces of the other 5 deacons standing beside him, hands folded in liturgical reference, he knew that they too were worried. In the background, the voice of the commentator boomed. Ụmụnne m na Kristi, otito dịrị Jesu. 9:53 a.m. Anthony sucked his teeth. There were moments when even being the bishop's favorite may not save your neck. It was most likely now. He quickly dialed Chinwa's mobile number again. He could feel the color draining from his face when the same monotonic voice he had heard the past 6 hours responded from the other end. The MTN number you are trying to reach is currently switched off. Anthony threw his face into his hands. Where the hell are you, Chinwa? When Chinwa opened his eyes, he observed his head was lying gently on her right breast, his hand placed firmly on the other breast. In a way, it reminded him of the biblical Jacob falling asleep on a bed of rocks which he improvised for pillows. Only that these particular rocks were much more soft and succulent. He grinned mischievously. Ijeoma's eyes were still firmly shut. However, Chinua had a strange feeling that she was wide awake. He had always told her jokingly that she was a terrible pretender. Chinua took advantage of the opportunity to admire the beauty God had bestowed on the nubile muse who now lay beside him. My heart will always be yours. Like a VCR in motion, erotic images of the previous night played through his mind, and memories of Ijeoma moaning his name as he planted his seed deep inside her flooded his consciousness. He could already feel his formerly flaccid organ growing erect once more. Something was tugging at his thoughts, but he could not yet place what it was exactly. Only our love matters. Ijeoma's eyes finally stirred. Fixating her gaze on her nude lover, she smiled. For a man of God, you're quite good in bed, Chinua. Her smile remained on her face. Chinua had heard those words many times over the past 5 years. When their affair had newly begun, he had felt an overwhelming sense of shame and guilt whenever she said it. These days, however, he just shrugged it off. For a man of God. Then it struck him. The worrying thought which had been tugging at his consciousness. Today is my priestly ordination. Jesus! He screamed. He could feel the adrenaline pumping into his veins. He glanced at the huge wall clock which hung above the bed. 9:55 a.m. I'm dead. Ijeoma sat upright, her eyes boring into his eyes, asking questions. My priestly ordination begins in 3 minutes and... He abruptly caught his lament as the realization hit him. There was something in Ijeoma's stoic countenance that sent chills down his spine. Wait. You knew? Damn you, EJ. His voice betrayed the overwhelming fear he felt. You want to ruin my life? Why did you not wake me? Oh, please, Chinua, spare me the tears. Did you engrave it on my forehead that I should disturb your peaceful sleep? Chinua felt stiff. He could not feel his legs. Ijeoma was not done with him. Besides, I never invited you here last night. You came on your own accord. Perhaps you felt like catching a last adventure with your miss... Stop it, EJ! Chinua could not stomach anymore. You know you hurt my feelings with those words. I love you. You know this. His hands were shaking. But sometimes things do not just work out the way we plan. Ijeoma was defiant. Then marry me, Chinua. If you truly love me as you claim, quit becoming a priest and be with me. Her eyes glistened, moist with hot tears already threatening. EJ, I cannot do that. I have already gone too far to quit. Chinua knew it was time to leave. Perhaps he could still make it to the ordination. I am leaving. Ijeoma reached for the drawer beside the bed frame. You can leave, Chinua. However, know that you are already a part of me. She threw the envelope at him. The doctor's report revealed that I am pregnant for you. Time stood still for Chinua. For a passing moment, he saw a gleam of triumph flash through her eyes. And yes, I am keeping the baby. Chinua slumped on the bed. The newly ordained priests in the sacristy excitedly divested their robes. They shared the next few seconds in a warm embrace with each other. Tears were rolling down Chinua's eyes now. The events of the last few hours were enough to crush the soul of any human. I am a conqueror. When he recovered from his shock at Ijeoma's house, he had hurried to the cathedral. He was confronted with bewildered faces seeking explanation. The priest on the altar delivering the homily spoke sternly on why priests must commit to a life of chastity. Chinua had just been on his seat for a few minutes when the bishop signaled for his presence. His heart almost jumped into his mouth. I am never going to be a priest. However, he met the greatest relief of the day and perhaps his life when all he heard from the bishop was, after your ordination, you owe me a serious explanation for your bizarre actions today. Get out of my face. Here he was, after 10 arduous years in the seminary, a priest in the order of Melchizedek of old. He had made his choice, and there was no going back. The only thing that eluded man's power was death. He would sort things out with Ijeoma. He stared outside. There was a mammoth crowd waiting. Every high priest is chosen among mortals. He felt a gentle tug on his back. Turning around, his gaze met that of a young girl, probably not more than 10 years of age. In her hands were a rosary, which she extended to him. Chinua took a deep breath. My first rite as a priest. He pressed his hands into her palms, and looking upward, he raised his hands to his forehead, making the sign of the cross. In the name of the Father. Charles Igwe is a writer and content creator based in Nigeria. He specializes in web content, academic writing, and creative storytelling, with a strong interest in African literature and faith-based narratives. His work often explores themes of identity, morality, and spirituality. You can read more of his work on Medium at Charles Igwe and connect with him on Instagram at digger_writing_services. Details and links will be in the episode description. If you've got a story you would like to be featured on this podcast, or a published book you want to make into an audiobook, I would love to hear from you. Send an email to info@osadumebi.com or send me a message at Osadumebi on either Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or X. I look forward to collaborating with you. And if you've enjoyed this week's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with that one person you know will enjoy listening. Tell them that stories are a good escape for a few minutes each week.